Well, Jane Krakowski, we would definitely want to talk Kimmy Schmidt in a few minutes, but boy, you've had some kind of week. You had a Tony nomination. You performed on the Tony Awards. You did carpool karaoke with James Corden. What's this week been like for you?
A wonderful whirlwind. It has just been an incredible time. I am so thankful that I was asked to be a part of this New York theater season, and my whole experience with She Loves Me couldn't have been better, really. I just had the most joyous time working on the show. And when we got to the Tonys, I didn't realize sort of how involved I was going to end up being in the telecast. And it was just an absolute blast for me, being a part of the opening number with James Corden, and then, of course, the carpool karaoke, which to me was one of the favorite things I've ever been asked to do with James. And it was because of the horrific events that happened in Orlando that morning. It was lovely to go somewhere where you could be a part of such a loving community that evening. Initially, when we all heard the news, I felt like, how are we actually going to go through with this and do this right now? And I think ultimately the way James presented the evening really represented the love and the feel of community that is the Broadway community. And so I actually was so thrilled that we were all together. And I think it made the evening much more filled with love than competition.
You've been to the Tony Awards many times, a three-time nominee and a winner. I mean, why is that show different? Just from a viewer's standpoint, it does feel like every year, no matter what the circumstances, like a group of, like a family gathering together to honor each other.
Yeah, well, the Broadway community is really small. I mean, I know it's Broadway and everything, but it's a very small community of people that know each other and have such a love for the theater. And really, we all work within a 7-block radius of each other. So you're part of the community even just by going to the same restaurants in between shows or after shows. And so I do think there is that community feel is what makes it perhaps feel that way on the telecast. I mean, I was one of those theater nerdy kids that watched the Tony Awards every single year and first VCR'd the numbers when we had VCRs, dating myself, and then DVR'd the numbers later and would, learn every word and act them out for my family, like after the Tony Awards were on. So to me, the Tony Awards are something that I hope continues, and that we get to, that those numbers continue, those performances, because I do think it inspires kids who have this interest all over the country.
Over the years, meeting different celebrities and entertainers and stuff, one of the people I've always thought is one of the nicest people in the world, and you've been working with him for months now, is Zachary Levi. What's he like in person?
One of the great guys of all time. Super, and a real, he's the real deal. Like, he is a real musical theater leading man. Who knew? I mean, I had been charmed by him, and I'd seen him on Chuck and all of his TV shows, but I didn't know that he had this amazing voice and this stage charisma. And he's just been amazing. We actually share a dressing room floor together. And so we have and we're at Studio 54. And in a nod to Studio 54, we have these dance parties in between in between matinee shows. They're daytime dance parties. So we have like an original disco ball hanging up on our dressing room floor, and Zach spins tunes and we all dance around. We become very good friends as a part of this, and I really admire him, not only as an amazing performer on the stage, but he's just one of those guys that knows how to sort of lead a company. And I think that's very, very important, and I appreciate people who know how to do that, and he's really good at it.
Like I said before, you've been in several productions. What would be a role from some production in the past, a musical or play, that you would just die to do if they brought it back?
Oh, if they brought it back in the theater?
Yeah, in theater.
In theater. Well, one of my dream roles is Dot in Sunday in the Park with George, because it's one of my favorite musicals of all time. The thing that's kind of funny, Chris, is that you have your career in musical theater, or lately in musical theater, because there's so many revivals, you have to time it right. And so, like, the time, if they just did one, you may have missed it. Like, I've always wanted to do Sally Bowles, but I never could fit it in when Cabaret was obviously a huge hit here for so long. And now it may not come around again within my time frame of being eligible to play the role. So I have this theory that you can actually play every role in Gypsy if you can time it right. You can start at Baby June and end at Mama Rose.
Well, if Tina Fey is listening, then we want to see next season on Kimmy Schmidt, Jacqueline in some kind of school production of Cabaret.
Right, perhaps.
I was going through your career stuff and was reminded that some of the best reviews of your whole career were in Guys and Dolls when you did that in London. And now they're making the movie version of that again.
With the same director, I believe.
What do we have to do to get you in that role?
I do not know, but whatever we can do, let's do that. That is one of the greatest roles of all time in musical theater, Miss Adelaide. And it was probably one of my favorite experiences I've had doing that show, Guys and Dolls full stop, but under the direction of Michael Grandage and getting to do it in the West End. It's obviously a very beloved show here, but it's an incredibly beloved show there as well. So it was just an amazing experience. And there are certain roles that I get to play in musical theater, and I think I approach them slightly differently, mostly because of the repetition that naturally happens because you do it 8 times a week. But I find like with Miss Adelaide, and I feel it with Alona in She Loves Me Right Now, that every night I'm still learning new things about the character. And I truly believe that is just because you're living in the mindset every single night and to keep it fresh. And so Miss Adelaide is one of those parts where I found new things throughout the entire run that I feel like I understood more about her and learned more about her. I would love to be the luckiest lady in the world to play that part. I will put my hat in the ring. But whoever does ultimately get to play it, it is one of the great roles of all time.
Well, you just never know. We'll throw it out there in the universe, and maybe the right person sees this video and they're like, that's a good idea.
That would be amazing. That would be a dream come true, actually. Because one of my desired things to still do is to make a movie musical. I've done a lot of musicals, obviously live and sung on TV and in the TV shows respectively, but I would love to do a big full-scale movie musical.
Well, when they're done right, there's nothing like them.
Oh gosh, yeah.
All right, Kimmy Schmidt. We just watched the 2nd season a couple of months ago, and what I loved, I told Ellie this a few weeks ago. It's the same show, obviously, and the same cast, but it had just a different feel this year. It felt like it went in some new directions, which is great for a show. Yeah,
I think I felt that way too. I don't know how Ellie answered, but I'm sure she did too. It felt like, and this is true, it felt like it was written this year for Netflix. Not that it necessarily went more adult toned or, without the censorship of network television, but I felt like they were able to accentuate the uniqueness of the tone because we were on Netflix even more, making the darker underbelly even darker and the lighter tones even lighter on top. And I think they gave a lot more depth to all the characters and so much growth and really delved into all of the main characters this year in a much bigger way than we were able to in season 1. And I hope that only continues in season 3. I felt episode 13 of season 1, I loved that episode. And I was like, oh my God, you've opened up a whole new world for us next season. Where will this all go? And when I watched episode 13 of season 2, I felt exactly the same. I remember seeing the final edit and writing Robert Carlock immediately going, oh my God, you've just brought the show to a whole nother level. We can go so much further even next year. And it's very exciting for me. I can't wait to see what they have in store for all of us. I love these characters, and I love how we all so clearly represent and define a certain profile of person in our exaggerated way and through the comedic tones and delicious writing of Tina Fey and Robert Carlock. But these are all real people that have real problems at their core and at their base. And so I think those are characters that I would love to play for years and years and years. There's so much to do with these people.
Well, and you're right, but and so it's certainly a funny show and you have all the comedic stuff, but they don't gloss over the problems of each of the different characters. They tackle them head on. Yeah,
they do. And in their own unique way, obviously with such, I think what's always been so unique about the show, and was the thing that I thought, well, will people understand this and like this, or will they not? Was its tone, that it is told in such such a sort of a dark story of a premise, is then told with such an optimistic view, and certainly through the ultimately optimistic, shining face of Ellie Kemper. But yeah, I'm curious to see where they bring us next year, and I think it's been amazing that the character development that they were able to do for all of us this year, especially Jacqueline. I mean, I think even though Jacqueline resisted and doesn't want to be a full, caring, understanding human being, I think they're trying their darndest to teach her how. And it's been a great growth this year. I was, there's like that old ad, the softer side of Sears. It was lovely to see the softer side of Jacqueline.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the episodes. The season opened for you with you on the road visiting your parents. Yeah. And there was a lot of good stuff in that episode for you. It was almost like the Jacqueline show.
I love that episode. And, I knew that's where the character was driving when she left in the end of season 1. But if you had made a bet with me, Chris, I never would have thought we would have started right on the reservation. I was like, yeah, okay, we are going for this. We're doing this.
Well, and everybody, I think, we had to wrap up so much from season 1 to move into season 2.
Yeah,
so that's what was good about that.
Yeah.
Another way back, even I think around February or maybe early March, I saw Ellie and Titus, and I just said, give me at a party. I just said, tease me on what's coming up without spoiling it for me.
Yeah.
And I said, any good guest stars, and both of them said Anna Camp. And you got to work with Anna Camp a lot.
I did,
especially on that party episode. I've never seen her like this in a show. Kind of like where you're talking about Zachary on, you've never seen him like that in a Broadway musical. What was it like doing those scenes with her?
Anna Camp was brilliant on our show, and I had known of her, but I had not met her or worked with her yet. I felt like those scenes were practically Shakespearean, really. When she gives that one speech at the gala, I was so jealous, to be honest, that it wasn't my speech, because it was so brilliantly written as being the perfect foe for her and competitor. And it was, I mean, as we were filming, I was like, my God, this is a Shakespearean speech she's giving right now through Robert Carlock and Tina Fey's writing. I hope that storyline continues, because I think it was one of the great storylines that I loved so much this year. And I think they are incredible foes to each other that I hope will only, delicious foes that will only continue, I hope.
And another guest star right along that timeline that just tickles me in everything she does is Amy Sedaris. Do you have to hold back to not laugh when she's doing her stuff? Yes.
She's just genius. And what a wingman or wingwoman.
Her character will drop you in a heartbeat, though, if she needs to.
She turns on me every other second. I just adore working with her. I mean, talk about having somebody on set that you just put the camera there and then the hilarity ensues. She's amazing, and I feel she's, again, the casting has been so incredible with our show, but so different than Anna Camp, but yet another perfect relationship, I think, for Jacqueline.
And you end the season potentially getting into a relationship with David Cross. And the nice thing about that episode, on top of all that, was you really have to step back and stand up for your values.
Yes. David Cross has been, I didn't see a new relationship coming for Jacqueline this quickly, but I'm thrilled, and I love David Cross, and he's, again, another wickedly talented and hilarious actors. Yes, I do think we will pick back up with that storyline. That's my understanding, of trying to take down the Washington Redskins, which will be a fun storyline to do. And oddly, and I've always felt that Tina Fey has sort of her finger on the zeitgeist of the times. And I remember we had already filmed that episode before the Super Bowl happened, and then one of our producers was forwarding like a link about that there really is a petition to change the name of the Washington Redskins that was up at the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh my God, there's always, like, Tina just has this thing. So I don't know, maybe it'll transfer over into the real world as well if we do get it done, if the characters can get it done. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that all goes. And I think, I mean, for sure, in that episode, that was the first time she's ever stood on her own 2 feet. It's the first time she's ever stood up for herself or her family instead of denying her identity. So much growth there. And turning down money, just saying, I will not date you. Turning down being a trophy wife, and that's all she really desired to get back up to this whole season. So they were big steps for Jacqueline. I mean, even though she resisted, I love, there was a scene in a car that, because Kimmy is an Uber driver now, and my character is so angry at her for making her try to be a better person. She's like yelling at her, you said I could be a better person. And you were wrong, I can't do it.
Well, another one from the middle of the season where you stand up for, really being a good mom for the first time. And by the way, I love discipline, the medicine. But that's a really good episode for you. You might want to think about that one for the Emmys, because not only is it funny, but
I need all advice, Chris.
well, I mean, we've talked about 4 of them, so I don't know what to tell you. But that one, you really see a side of her. I mean, she's never really even wanted to be a mom, and here, I mean, she's got the perfect child now if she just leaves him on this medicine. But she just can't stand to see him that way.
Yeah. I particularly love that episode because I think it's obviously just so well written and hilarious and clever, with the discipline being a pill instead of actual real parenting. And so fitting for Jacqueline. And that is, I think, the first time where she admits she doesn't know how to take care of her own child, because she's never, ever done it. But my favorite moment in that episode is, and I think another sort of grounding moment for Jacqueline, it's a very quick montage at the end where her son comes and gives her a hug after they've had a fun day together, and where they actually connected, and he comes to give her a hug, and Jacqueline doesn't actually know how to hug her own son, although sad, and one hopes that life isn't like that. But I thought it was a really true moment for Jacqueline. And it's literally just like a very quick pan by the camera, but I love that moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I mean, obviously, I think you're going to get in again, and it'll be your 6th nomination.
Maybe, yes. Let's hope.
We could. I'll chat with your reps over in mid late July. But I sort of lean toward that one maybe for you. But maybe the party one, just because it's so over the top.
Yeah, the party one is a really great one too. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually thought about it in that terms yet. I never do until it sort of happens. So we'll see. Okay.
Well, listen, thank you so much. This is one of my highlights of my summer every year when you and I get together. So,
so sweet.
And I hope we see you on the red carpet there at the Emmys again.
Oh, I hope so too. It's great to see you again. Thanks for talking.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.